Gift to the Givers founder Dr Imtiaz Sooliman has noted that 2 homes were damaged in the gas tanker explosion in Boksburg on Saturday. Structural damage incurred was not as severe to houses, and that the need for mass evacuations were not necessary. On that note, Gift to the Givers founder Dr Imtiaz Sooliman joins us for an update. A very good evening to you, Dr Imtiaz. Thank you for joining us here on the SABC.
Good evening, Lisa. Thank you very much.
On the back of the news that police have arrested the Boksburg gas tanker driver for culpable homicide, which is obviously just the latest news emerging since the tragedy yesterday. After assessments also on your end, what's been the cost of the damages incurred to date?
Well, the cost is not going to be understood right now. The biggest cost has been in human lives. You know, it's absolutely tragic. And now to hear that a mother has 4 children. Yesterday, we knew the count was 9 or 10, but they did tell us that they are looking for some children. We don't know if these are the children they were looking for or for some other children. And the search and rescue dogs were searching around, and they were certain they were going to find more bodies. Also, at the same point I'm coming back to the point about the cost, and just as additional information, 6 nurses from the hospital and 1 doctor were also injured in the blast. Fortunately, those 6 were not very severely affected. But in terms of the cost, you've got the whole emergency department has to be revamped. They had to shut the theater in the emergency department. They had to move patients away from the ICU because they're not sure if the structural damage has affected that area. The bridge is gone. The railway lines are gone. The houses nearby have been gone. The cost on human lives is horrendous. And also the funeral costs for all those family members who lost their lives, the funeral costs associated with all that. But of course, the most devastating is the emotional and the mental effect of what this has happened. People came as onlookers. Many of them maybe came to see if there's something they can do to help a small fire. And suddenly, at short notice or without warning, the whole gas tanker explodes. The other cost, which of course is not huge compared to the destruction, is the cost of supplies and consumables that are required in this kind of condition. And our teams got involved, Gift for Givers medical teams, because we knew there was a problem. At 12 o'clock yesterday, all pharmaceutical companies were closing, and we're not sure when they're going to open up, next week or the following week. And urgent supplies were required. And by 12 o'clock, we had sourced all those urgent supplies, including crepe bandages, burn dressings, burn shields, anesthetics, types of analgesia, special pumps, analgesic pumps, and a range of other items that are required. And we managed to give that to our Tambo Memorial Hospital to use there and at the other hospitals. And we've got surplus stock in our warehouses. We've informed the other hospitals that are getting patients that if they do need any support, we can bring that in. But again, that cost is minimal compared to the loss of life and the destruction to the building. It's like Charlotte Makeke happening all over again, and we hope it doesn't take a long time to fix this hospital.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Dr. Imtiaz. I think just beyond looking at, the immediate needs of the hospital, I wanted to also look at some of the more immediate needs of those who have been affected and for the community at large. And in terms of the help that Gift to the Givers is going to provide for them, how will you be assisting?
Well, we may have to look at the 2 houses. Other than that, there's no infrastructure damage.
Okay.
Nobody has lost furniture like in a normal fire and informal settlements where all the shacks are gone, all the clothes are gone. To that extent, nothing has happened like that. The only damage are to those 2 houses. And of course, unfortunately, unlike the other fires, the destruction has been in life rather than in property. Like in an informal settlement, you have houses that burn, 500, 600 houses burn, and maybe 1 or 2 people pass on. Here, 2 houses are damaged, but 15 people have passed on. So the damage is more in human life rather than in infrastructure.
Absolutely. And then also looking at the needs of the hospital and the personnel, but also the families affected. You spoke about additional costs, including funerals, but also the psychosocial trauma that obviously has come as a result. Is there any assistance on that front?
That counseling is normally done by social development, and I must add, by the way, that the city itself, the emergency services, the firefighters, the health department, the healthcare workers, the community around the hospital were absolutely brilliant. The speed at which everybody responded. This is how South Africans like to respond, and they like to move. They show, even at the time of the festive season, they're incredible in what they can do. And a lot of help will come from people in the area itself. And of course, those families that lost lives, but even those that were caught up in the explosion itself, were standing there, will have been totally traumatized. People from the areas further away, who spoke was said when they heard the explosion and saw the smoke, they thought something happened in their houses. So it's going to be a wide area of counseling service required, and the authorities nearby will have to put in many more psychologists to make that available. We had offered medical teams, immediately after this blast took place, because we know during the festive season, the number of personnel are substantially reduced in hospitals because many people take leave. And our teams were prepared to fly in from Cape Town, from Durban, drive in from Newcastle and other parts of the country. The one team was sourcing out all the supplies, the consumables. The other teams were getting ready to fly into Johannesburg to assist. And we've got burn specialists, we've got wound specialists, we've got all types of specialists, and all were willing to come to assist. But again, hats off to the health department and the healthcare workers. They were absolutely admirable in dealing with the situation themselves. So we can augment the support, but we won't override the support.
So then, in conclusion, Dr. Imtiaz, I mean, it's been a bleak Christmas for those affected, and perhaps as people, make sense of what happened since yesterday, what messages of support do you have for South Africans at large? And also, if people want to assist, how do they get in touch and go about doing that?
Well, the one thing is, we can only give words of condolences to those family members who lost their lives. Nobody can prepare for a disaster like this. People saw a small fire, went towards a tanker, it exploded without notice, and killed a lot of people. It's very much like how COVID started, or the floods that came in KZN, or the fire in Masipumalele, or the floods in Soweto. You can't have advance notice for any of those kind of things. Even if you have early warning systems, people don't move out of their homes. All we can tell the people is we can be very sure that the people of South Africa will come to their assistance. We can't save everybody's lives, but people come forward. South Africans are not selfish people. Even during the festive times, even during times of economic hardship and challenges, South Africans come forward to help fellow South Africans. And this has happened over and over again. They take comfort in the fact that we are a very giving, very generous nation, a nation full of faith, a nation that prays for other people, that prays for the healing, that gives support, that cares for the people. And that's the best kind of nation you can have, knowing that people in your country care. Yes, everybody can't provide material aid, but they care and they'll do the best they can. And it's admirable that our emergency services have responded so fast. So to tell South Africa, when things happen, we can cope. Our people can do it. Our country can do it.
Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, thank you for your time here on the SABC. Founder of Gift of the Givers, Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, just giving us an update. The organization stepping in to help following the deadly gas tank explosion that occurred in Boksburg yesterday. After assessments, there's been multiple damages to railways, the bridge, houses, as well as additional costs, including funeral and emotional costs. Again, sending our condolences to those who have been affected and strength to all the families as they navigate these trying times. On the back of that, we saw news just a few moments ago coming in, as in a statement released from the Office of the Provincial Commissioner of the SAPS in Gauteng, having announced that police have now arrested the Boksburg gas tanker driver for culpable homicide. They found the driver, he was arrested after being found at a private hospital where he had been receiving medical treatment for some minor injuries. The 32-year-old has now been charged with multiple counts of culpable homicide, negligent causing of an explosion resulting in the death, and malicious damage to property.